Let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let.
Well, as I stare into the barrel of camera number 2 over here, coming at you from a different angle this morning, I would like to wish you a nice and happy Sunday morning. Praying to good old goat Jesus, because bear Jesus and bull Jesus taking a little bit of a rest this prior week. Although there are a few things that I want to follow up on today. I want to follow up on yesterday's sort of pullback that we got. We got the 79.50-ish region. I did actually put on another trade around there, so I want to talk about that. So a little bit of live trading action, perhaps, even in the works if things do start moving here. As I go back to the other camera, here we go. Also, I am starving like fucking Marva right now, so this might be a little bit of a faster video. But a lot of things to talk about in the higher time frames. We haven't really seen anything too crazy go on as far as the medium or higher time frames from yesterday to today, as you know, the weekends are typically kind of rangy behavior, rangy price action. But because today is not only the weekly close, but the 2-day close and the next 3-day little close, we have a lot to be aware of with regards to where we end up later tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And as well, CME is going to be opening back up. So a lot of things are actually kind of posturing for a nice short-term, mid-term move once again. And without further ado, I'd like to actually talk a little bit more directly about that, but I almost forgot. Twitch is going to be going on live tonight, at least unless if anything crazy pops up in between now and then. Yesterday was spent kind of setting up the overall setting once again, just a little bit more, and for good reason. We were off, but now coming back on later tonight, I would imagine probably somewhere around like 4 or 5 my time, which might be around like I don't know, 8 or 9 a.m. Eastern time. If I'm not on by that time, then probably not going to do it. But it would only be if I can get my hands on this next piece of equipment that I'm really excited for, which seems to be quite elusive, seeing as I live in the fucking Great North right now. Anyways, you don't care about that. Let's get. What I should also say though is that all of the indicators are now back on for subscription. The link is in the description below, as well as a link to the Twitch channel as well. And the indicators, I always want to be very, very direct with saying, while they are great tools of edge, while they are really efficacious and have been a humongous part of my own trading activity recently, especially for like this past year that I've had access to them, I would say that if you don't already have your risk management, position management, or profit-taking strategies in place, they will not be that magic pill that you're looking for. They're not magic pills at all, in fact. And that's basically to say that if you aren't already profitable, they're not what you're looking for. You're looking for actual trading knowledge, trading strategies and whatnot, which is covered in a much more longer program, or also just the TA 101 playlist, which is 100% free on YouTube right here. Anyways, goddamn, man. Okay, I think it's time for me to wish you the best and the happiest of the happiest. Let's get into the last thing right on over here and talk about some goddamn trading. And there she is once again. So what I did over here was I got out of my position yesterday right around about 82.50, 8300-ish region, because we were approaching that last little prior high. In fact, I took it off right around here at about 82.30. It looks like. As we approach this area right and over here, just because I didn't really feel like we had the momentum to actually break up to the upside, and realistically we're probably gonna be ranging throughout the weekend activity. So I interpreted that as a test towards the top side of the range. So I let go of that position, and then we actually got that move back down exactly to where we spoke about yesterday, down to 79.50-ish region, and I just re-put it on. So I want to speak directly to this right now, and this isn't to brag or do anything like that. This is my streamer account. It's not. It's whatever. But my point is that a lot of the time Bitcoin and assets in general are ranging, especially on the weekend. So I'm more inclined to do something like this, where every time we approach, a medium-term resistance or support, I will put positions around or will take profits in this case, on those major points. So that's why I took took profit on the rest of that position from yesterday, and then I just re-put it on right here. Now I did get a pretty damn good entry right here, 79.58. It looks like, I believe, in my streamer account, and pretty much the same thing on my main account as well. So what I would say about that is, again, just following the ranges, following very, very simple strategies. Doesn't need to be more crazy than that at the end of the day. So we'll see how this one shapes up, but for right now, Bitcoin is still looking constructive within this region right here. I do think, though, well, let's actually start off with the lower time frames, in fact. So we actually got it pretty damn well already. I mean, the ranges are pretty much set. Bitcoin's kind of hanging out in this little order block that we've kind of had in here for right now for the last couple weeks, or sorry, about a week and a half, it looks like. And I don't really expect like anything too crazy between now and end of day. Now I do expect that between end of day and tomorrow's open for CME, or sorry, not open for CME, but open for New York Stock Exchange, like the regular trading week. That's probably when we actually do get a potential move outside of this range. And now the range actually shortens on the lower time frames. So now that we have another, some more pivot points within this market, once again we can actually mark this off a little bit better. In fact, I would go down all the way on over here. And we can even go up all the way on over here. And I would say, and we can actually even just get rid of this blue box territory right here because it's not really relevant to what I'm about to say. Anyways, as it stands right now, Bitcoin is doing a very weird and not so pretty, but you do see this every once in a while, cup and handle. In fact, we do see, nice, it's a little bit too aggressive. You do see this on Bitcoin. If I saw this in traditional, I would not call it a cup and handle, but I've seen this too many times in Bitcoin to be a little bit more open-minded towards these things. They don't need to be exactly perfect, but volume signature is proper on this. We are kind of flagging out on the potential handle right on over here. And I would say that the next sort of short-term move would be had if we actually do get any sort of a 2-hour delta close back above 8250-ish region. If Bitcoin can close above there to kind of wrap that talk up, I would look for another push up here around maybe a little bit above our prior high, somewhere in this blue box territory between about 8450 and 8600-ish region. So nice $150 range, and what is that, like a potentially $300 play. Now remember those numbers because they're going to come into play a little bit later. I want to make sure that I'm actually recording. I am recording and the microphone's working, so that's good. Haven't wasted 5 minutes for nothing. Anyways, by that same token, if we do break below the bottom side of this of the very short term range right here, which would be about 8,000 even, on even like a 2-hour delta close, then I would look for a full-on move all the way back down here towards about 7850. So we would eventually hit that lower end of the of the range, and I'd be looking for another bounce right around there, similar to what we saw yesterday night, or sorry, for me yesterday night at 7950. I'd probably be looking for the same sort of play there, and I would still have overall a bias to the upside on the medium time frames, and very, very specifically only the medium time frames, as long as we are closing daily dildos, especially above this prior pivot right here, 7800, a little bit above 7800. Why is that? Well, because we quite literally have an uptrend on the daily. We have higher highs and higher lows for the first time in over 3 months. And I mean, really, this was the last time that we had technically had an uptrend, but this was not sustained. The last time that we had an uptrend was basically throughout most of 2019 through this rally right over here. So this is a potential major change of behavior. And while Bitcoin is getting rejected by the 200 exponential moving average right now on the daily, I don't necessarily look at that as all that surprising given it's a weekend. What I would say though, in the next big the next big piece of price action, and now we can kind of relate the lower time frames to the higher time frames, is if Bitcoin breaks back above here on a lower term time frame, this 82, let's call it like 8220, just give it a little bit of credibility there. If we even close like a lower time frame above there, 2-hour would be a little bit too low for me to feel comfortable with. 4-hour would probably do it. Then I would look for that next leg up to at the very least test the prior high that we put in last week and probably get a little bit higher. Anywhere between, like I said, 8,500 and 8,600 is probably about where I'd be looking towards. By the same token, if we actually do take out this prior low, 7,800, a little bit above 7,800 once again, even on a lower time frame, this is going to look like a little bit of a diamond top, and I'd be looking for a move all the way back down to about below 7,500, and we'd probably revisit the prior, somewhere around like low 7,000 after that, after a little bit of a bounce around 74, 75 region. So this is a pretty critical piece of price action. I do believe that if Bitcoin actually is going to have a real reversal here on the macro, now I'm talking to the clickbait title that I'm probably going to put in, which I haven't decided on just yet. I actually do kind of expect it to happen within this next week or two of price action, and I would not expect Bitcoin to go back down below 7,800. If we go back down below 7,800, we destroy this as our nice little trend on a daily, which daily trend does not speak to the macro, but it does speak to a strong medium and semi longer term time frame for Bitcoin. Although I would say for the long term time frames on Bitcoin, that's more like your weekly and above. And even the 2 days actually pretty good as well. The daily doesn't really get like the major moves, but it does get a lot, and it is going to be the first major signal where it's like, okay, we actually have something interesting going on here. Not only that, but as long as Bitcoin just maintains above 7,800, we will get the bullish cross of the yellow 21 and the green 55 exponential moving average right on over here. Which, if you're in the TA program, the relevancy of that. And again, I would be looking for that to be confirmed. That would be really, really confirmed as a good, as a good cross to be operating off of. if and only if Bitcoin can close this next, even a 4 hour, above about 8220-ish, we'll call it. If we get a 12 hour above 8200, that would look really, really good. And I would look for extension again to about 8600, and then potential to get more after that. I'd be looking for a small pullback there. So that's what's going on right now, at least in my mind's eye. We do see that momentum oscillators on the daily are actually getting a little bit tired here, so it is not a done deal. Even though things do look structurally okay, we are seeing a lost momentum on timeframes that do matter. So this is not only the daily, but we see the 12 hour as well. 12 hour is actually curling back around. So here's what I could say. If we do see the 12 hour actually cross back up to the upside, and at this point it would actually be rejecting getting out of the bullish control zone, meaning that it wants to stay in the bullish control zone, that would be a bigger deal to me than actually where the daily is. The 12 hour Stokes have with the settings that I use have gotten price action better than just about any other time frame, blindly speaking. And we do see that 12 hour RSI is looking okay here. It's not the picture of perfect, but it is more constructive than not. I would say it's if I was being super literal, it's more neutral than anything, but there is potential here. And with the way that Bitcoin's kind of shaping up, are we putting in some sort of a bullish reaccumulation formation on this area right here? Well, that's what the bulls are looking for, and I believe that would be confirmed. I mean, if we get a 12 hour deal to close above about 8200, or even, and this is a little bit more of an aggressive statement here, and not going to be as actionable. I would not look at this as the way to do it, but I do think that it probably does end up working out, is that if we take out the last 12 hour high, which was 82.86 on Stamp, and I think around 8,300 on Mexico, then that's probably going to be good enough for, at the very least, retesting the prior high of about 8,500, and probably moves us onwards and upwards. As you can see right now, the 12 hour is attempting to create another higher low right here. So this would be a pretty damn constructive consolidation, and would goose the odds in the favor of the bulls. Speaking of odds, let's go over here to the expected moves chart and see how it's printed today. And this is actually what the bulls want to see. And I really like this tool, because it really helps validify and then add on probabilities to what we're looking at with just these regular TA tools. So if you can see right here on the first standard deviation, the top side of the first standard deviation is conveniently enough right around 8,300. So that would be around the high that we spiked up to during my last night. Maybe it was like your middle of day or something like that, if you're in the Western Hemisphere. But my point is that to get up to the prior high and even just trade above it, that's actually within this first standard deviation right here, which means that it's more or less like 68% chance to happen. It's not exactly like that, but more importantly, to the downside, remember, where's the critical area to the downside? 7,800 as far as the daily is concerned, and the 12 hour and all those other time frames. But the daily's really setting the pace here, and we do see that the first standard deviation on the bottom side is actually well above that area. It's actually right around a little bit below 7,900. So I do like that, and that does mean that the odds are in the bulls' favor here. It would say that to break above 8,300, it's a little bit less likely to happen today, less than 16% chance to happen. But this is a setup coming into the next week. I don't believe that we're going to see a major breakout or breakdown during the weekend. I believe that we're going to see constructive behavior or destructive behavior, depending upon which way we're setting up to go during the week's direction. So today is kind of like it's probably going to be a more boring day than not, but I would be looking at these major pivots here as insight to where we're actually going to be headed next. Now again, to go to break to the bottom side, it would actually be it's kind of hard to get the probabilities here, because 7,800 is below the first standard deviation but above the second, so it'd be somewhere between like 16% and like 5%. So, or actually like 2.5%. So I don't know, just cut that in half maybe, and it's like 10% or something like that. So it's a little bit, it's certainly less likely today compared to the upside. But realistically, as long as Bitcoin just doesn't really go below 78 or 78.50, I'd say, the odds are in the favor of more sideways here equals more the more sideways here is going to increase the odds coming into this next week that we actually do break up to the upside. So I really like that. And again, massive shout out to fucking Bali Poor for that one, because really helps kind of solidify and then formulate a bias with my own trading activity based upon my tools, which my tools are also volatility as well. I'm actually I used to be a market maker, authorized trader for equity options, so I'm very familiar with volatility, but using it in this combination with technical analysis is really useful. Anyway, speaking of volatility, I'm curious how the lower term time frame timeframes are looking like. We said yesterday that they were still contracting, which aligns with, more ranging behavior. Exactly what we have right on over here. You can see the historical volatility percentile on the 2-hour and hourly are well below the moving average on this after redlining, which tells me that, again, we're not breaking out today or tomorrow. We're going to likely see this contract for another like day or two or something like that, which means that we fill out the range a little bit more. And then perhaps very early this coming week, maybe like Monday, Tuesday, we likely get a break outside of this range. A break outside of this range does not mean this guy right here. Sorry, let's go back to BitMexico chart. Does not mean this range right here. It means the greater range, the one that really matters, above the blue box territory right here or below this blue box territory right here. As historical volatility percentile on these lower timeframes does speak to this greater formation. Actually, it's the better way of getting them, in fact. So for right now, if Bitcoin does if Bitcoin does take out this area right here, I would look for a move up here. If Bitcoin takes out this area, I'd look for a move down here, and that's going to still likely, it's going to cause a nice little spike on historical volatility percentile, but it should still be within that declining nature. So the hole is still cooking, if you want to look, if you want to make like a fucking baking metaphor, which makes no sense. I don't even know why I came up with that. God damn, man, I'm hungry as fuck. I'm gonna eat so much food after this. It's insane. Anyways, let's see, momentum oscillators on the lower timeframes. How are they shaping up right now? Hourly Stokes are up, not really giving us too much. So we're going to see the nice ebb and flow of the market. 2-hour Stokes are down, while price action has been mostly constructive and sideways. So I would say that is more on the bullish side. 3-hour Stokes are certainly more on the bearish side, and 4-hour Stokes probably just having a fresh cross down. So not really getting too much off this right now. Again, it tells me that we're likely going to be ranging. We probably get another test of the top side right here, like 82, 82.50. Do we get a close above there? It'd kind of say a little bit less likely, and then we probably come back down around here and test this region right here, and that would be the most constructive things for the bulls at this moment in time. We also do see a nice declining volume signature on this potential, this potential formation right here. So I don't believe that we've seen enough price action to really call it something just yet. Does it end up being a symmetrical triangle? Does it end up being an ascending triangle? Does it end up being maybe even a descending triangle? Who knows? We don't have enough information just yet, but I would say that again, early this week, this would suggest somewhere around end of Monday, early Tuesday, we probably get a break on this, and again, that would speak to the greater whole right here. So really like that, but it helps formulate the bias that between now and tomorrow, probably not going to be looking for like the big bad breakout trade, which means more range and activity, which means more scalping for me. Anyways, okay, cool. All right, what else do we want to talk about? So we spoke about the 12-hour daily. Okay, cool. I'm curious if the Joule saying anything on any time frame. 4-hour Joule is actually under a little bit of pressure here, but that's not a signal. Is 3 hours showing anything? No. 2-hour? No. Hourly? No, not really. Yeah. So okay. So cool. So we're still kind of consolidating this region. It's more or less neutral. What about daily? No, not anything too interesting here as well. I should say now. Okay. All of the things that we've been speaking about on lower term timeframes matter, what we just spoke about. And now we're going to kind of bring this full circle here and start to talk about the macro. And of course, we're still living in this long-term descending channel, right? And this long-term descending channel does have a descending trend line as a resistance, which has gotten all of our highs since 14,000 right here, right here, right here, right here. And more recently, right around here, although, I could collapse this down a little bit because, BitMexico went a little bit higher than all the exchanges on this one right here and this one right here. So if we were just drawing a best fits regression, it'd be something like this. And we pretty much tested it last week at around the 8,500, and you could see that this blue box territory is once again meeting up with it, right? And if it's meeting up with it, that means that if we even do break those lower term timeframes to the upside, we still have to deal with this. So getting macro bullish, as far as I'm concerned, there are a few major things that need to happen. First and foremost, this area needs to be taken out on this falling channel, which is actually the more statistically likely thing to happen when you do have falling channels. However, that's not going to get the whole thing done. After that, we have to deal with the 200 simple right here, which is at 91.30ish region. And more importantly, on top of that, I will not get macro bullish, and I've been saying this for for forever now, so it's probably just annoying, but I think it is important to say. I will not get macro bullish until we get a confirmed reversal on the weekly, which has called all of the major moves in Bitcoin's past, which means that I'm not going to ever catch the ultimate high or the ultimate low. So I want to be very, very straightforward with saying that, because I don't know, there's probably someone out there saying, Krown, what the fuck? Why aren't you bullish yet? It's like, well, I mean, it's always going to be this way. I was bearish over here, but I was bullish over here. I was bullish over here, bearish over here. and then so on and so forth. And for Bitcoin to create for Bitcoin to create an uptrend here, we need both a higher low and a higher high. In this situation, in order to get a higher high, we need to trade above our past high. Where's our past high? Oh fuck, 9,500. So it's got a lot of work to do for that to really solidify its reversal in my mind's eye. If that does happen, I would look for another retest of 12,500, probably even 14,000 after that, and this would look like a massive falling channel getting resolved to the upside, which technically does have a measure move, like I said, to about 12,000-ish region, a little bit above there. And we probably ultimately work our way much higher, because above 12,000, that is a critical point. That is the area that we've been getting rejected from ever since January of 2018, going all the way to August of 2019. So almost 2 years straight from this region right here. I'm actually going to pull this guy all the way out so we can see exactly. And getting back above there and closing above there on a weekly schedule would really look like we're getting ready for a move up to like 14,000, 16,000. You know, it starts to look really, really good long term. So fair enough. You know, if that does happen, I would be massively bullish. But right now, I still cannot be macro bullish as long as we're doing shit like this. And just to put in perspective, once again, we are still well below even the first gatekeeper for holding Bitcoin bullahs down. Bula, bula, bula. Show me your fucking green dildo bula, because it is still, we're still well below that region right now. And with even our kind of like medium term timeframes, like 12-hour and daily, using up a lot of their momentum oscillators in this region right here. Not necessarily certain that that bodes all that well for a full-on mounted assault towards that region. Anyways, let's flesh that idea out a little bit more, though. I would say that the 2-day looks very promising here. We are going to see, again, the 2-day dildo close and the 3-day and the weekly close later tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'd say that a 2-day dildo closure anywhere above 8250 looks really, really good to me for, at the very least, a test towards 85, 8600, and then we'll come back to it after that. But I actually, if I am going to be bullish here, it's mostly based off the 2-day. In fact, the reason why is because, well, the 2-day did get a decent continuation buy signal for the jewel, and we actually are getting back above an area, or going to have a potential chance to get back above this area that we've been held below ever since July of 2019. So that was when Bitcoin was way over here at about 12,500, and to get back above that region would be a change of behavior, and I think that would be significant. We also do see 2-day Stokes are maintaining into the bullish control zone and still pointed up, still looking good, although again using up a lot of their momentum there. And we do see that 2-day RSI is actually kind of the odd man out. I'd say that this is more bearish than not, as it does look like it wants to pop back down here, and overall it actually does have some potentially extremely nasty hidden bearish divergence. So what does that tell us? Well, it tells us that what we're looking at right now is likely the next big inflection point on the market. If Bitcoin is going to turn the corner here and go to the upside, it probably happens from here, negates this whole potential hidden bearish divergence, and we'll see probably back up to like upper 8,000, 9,000-ish region in the next couple weeks. If we get rejected here, it would suggest that we come all the way back down somewhere between the 200 simple, which is 7150, and the 377, which is 6950-ish region, down around here. So we're looking at, we're being shoved in our faces another $1,000 plus move to the upside or the downside. And the easy way to trade this one, again, would be based off of what we looked at actually on the lower term timeframes. If we even just violate like 7,800 to the downside, this is going to be confirmed as yet again another lower high on a 2-day and a weekly essentially, and I'll be looking for another move back down here. If we actually close above, especially 8,250, 8,300, I would look for extension to the upper 8,000s most likely over time. Lower term time frames very likely to get 85, 8,600-ish region. So it's a potential here. It's the first major potential bottoming area that I think we've seen since really like 14,000 essentially. So I do want to provide a little bit of hopium because I do think that it's relevant in this region, and we can expand that a little bit further by looking at the 3-day. 3-day Stokes looking good, getting back into the bullish control zone for the first time in ever since 14,000. We see 3-day RSI looking very constructive here. We actually broke this. What was it? It was something like this. It was some sort of like a falling pizza bullshit going on over here. Broke this baby to the upside. More like a falling channel, perhaps, something like that. And a little bit of a change of behavior there. I like that. I like that. Reminds me of that video with that kid. It's like Sings the Friends song, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. And just looking at major moving averages, looks okay here. We've rallied off the 21 after a little bit of a fake out like this. I like that. I like that. I like that. It's fucking dumb. Anyways, I think that this one's a little bit less conclusive than the 2-day, because the 2-day actually is more interesting here to me, as we were not really super in danger, but getting close to actually having a death cross on the on the 2-day little time frame between the 50 and the 200 right here, the green and the purple. And to me, whenever we see like a last ditch mounted attack against like a potential cross like this, which still this would have taken like another 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks to follow through and actually get the death cross. That is a fake out. And if we're gonna have a fake out in this region right here, alongside potential tests of the top side resistance, where things actually do start to change around, that's typically where you do get your major fake out type price action and can actually reverse things. So looking at that again, another kind of point in the court of the bulls there, I suppose. Okay, cool. So we spoke about all of that. Weekly's going to be closing later tonight again, and if we could close above the 21, that would look pretty good. The 21's right around 81.60, so it's within striking distance right now, although it's a long day left to go. We still got more than 12 hours in the day, I imagine, and we are going to have a chance to close the weekly RSI above the exponential for the first time since really May, June of the prior year, 2019, when Bitcoin was in an uptrend over here. So that would be another good change of behavior. Not only that, but we do see weekly Stokes once again kind of popping up, and not only that, we do see that weekly Stokes are following and kind of bouncing off the same trend line that we've had ever since February of 2019, getting this major low right here, getting this major low right here before a $3,000 pump, and once again crossing up right on over here. So there are things that I do think that Bitcoin is kind of setting up here. The question is, do we actually get the follow through? And I'd say the first and probably easiest point of reference for looking for this is if we get the weekly closing above, again, 81.60, the 21 exponential moving average right here, which I really do like. I also want to go back to the daily for a second. Man, this video is going to be long as fuck, I think. Sorry. Well, fuck it, man. This is for the TA autists out there, of which I'm the fucking king autist, man. I'm fucking singing songs about bulaws over here. Jesus Christ, man. Jesus fucking Christ. Still laugh at that video. So yeah, as far as major movement averages go, I want to represent both sides as well. We do have a very similar setup to what we had back on over here in May 2018, as to what we got, very similar right on over here. Bitcoin gets rejected by the 200 simple, boom, boom. Bitcoin gets rejected by the 200 simple after a bear market rally right here. Bitcoin then gets a death cross right here, green and purple. Gets death cross right here, then gets all lower periods below higher periods right here. Same thing right here. Bitcoin gets negative slopes on all major moving averages right here. Boom, all the way through right here. Once Bitcoin climbs back above the 21 exponential moving average right here, big massive rally back up to test the 200 simple, which is also in line with the long-term downturn resistance coming in from our highs in January right here. Well, very similar action right in over here. Bitcoin catches the 21, boom, massive rally up, even kind of off the same formation. This one an inverted head and shoulders. This one more of a descending broadening wedge. Nice reversal formations, to be fair. And do we have a nice test of the 200 simple in line also, which is going to be pretty much consistent with the long-term downtrend, which is they're kind of within the same territory right now. Also the 382 Fibonacci retracement showing some activity in that region as well. Is it likely, could we pop all the way back up there and still reject and resume bearishness just like we did in 2018? Yes. So again, while I am showing some more hopium-induced things, understand that the weekly is really the key. If the weekly can close above 9,500 and confirm a higher high, I have no reason but to not be macro bullish on Bitcoin. But until that happens, there's a lot of things that can go wrong in the middle of that way. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about? Let's go check out. Let's go check out another thing for the bulls. I've been showing this quite a bit recently, but this is SPYs versus Bitcoin. You're looking at both the correlation coefficient right here and R squared, which is kind of like a regression on the correlation coefficient, showing how much of the data from the correlation coefficient actually fits. So your R squared basically verifies your CC, and we have a pretty decent CC here on a monthly, which is, for the monthly trend on Bitcoin. And more importantly, the R squared is very high. I very rarely see a R squared this high, in fact, especially with cryptocurrencies. In fact, this is much higher than what we see on gold, much higher than what we see on all the assets that people like bark about Bitcoin being correlated with. In fact, if you want to look at, for example, I was giving the example of the Chinese yuan yesterday. People have been trying to make correlations between that and Bitcoin. This shows very obviously that it's not there, and people searching for that are searching for ghosts is what they're doing. And trading off that. I mean, goddamn, I fair enough. If it's been working for you though, don't let me tell you otherwise. But I would be highly skeptical. Anyways, looking at this right here, we do see that again they are pretty damn heavily correlated on the whole, and we can take this a little bit of a step further, right? Let's actually go back to this chart over here. It's just easier to look at. It's easier on the eyes. So let me set this up really quick. We'll take off that. We'll go to a line chart rather than a dildo chart, and let's go compare it with BLX index so we can get more history. And here we go. Here we go. Hey, yeah, there we go. Let's put it on log scale so we can get them both consistent. And you can see that on the macro, Bitcoin and traditional markets follow each other pretty fucking well. Really, really well, if I do say so. And Bitcoin typically on the macro will top out before traditional markets, and then they typically bottom around the same time. And then traditional markets, SPY, the major bourse for that, will make new highs before Bitcoin, and then a few months to a year later, you'll see Bitcoin follow typically. So example one, we have this guy right. Well, no, sorry, this guy right here. Bitcoin tops out first, then traditional markets. They both put in their lows about the same time. Traditional markets make new highs right here. Blue line chart, by the way. Bitcoin's the orange, and then Bitcoin follows, after, SPY's making new highs March 2012. Bitcoin's making new highs February 2013. So almost a year actually for this one. Same thing right here. Bitcoin tops out first, bottom. Same thing on traditional markets. New highs here. Bitcoin new highs here. Then same thing right here. Both top out right here. Go through that correction through 2014, 2015. This one a little bit less obvious, but still present very much. And Bitcoin, they kind of bottom out at the same time. I suppose traditional markets a little bit sooner, and then traditional markets making new highs right here. Bitcoin making not new highs until like a year and a half later actually on this one. Then same thing running over here. They both top out January 2018 essentially. Bottom in December 2018, and then traditional markets have been making new highs, ever since September, October of 2019. Bitcoin still kind of following, but perhaps turning the corner right now. So looking at these things as correlated assets on the macro, which is what we did on that other chart, looking at the monthly, and then kind of judging it on the macro trend right here, we can see that, does Bitcoin follow in traditional markets' footsteps longer term? Probably yes. At least that's the history that we have for over 10 years now, which is significant, to be fair. And on top of that, I know a lot of people don't like to hear a statement like that because people want to think that Bitcoin's uncorrelated to traditional markets. It's just not true. And it's likely because the same people who are moving money around in traditional markets are finding some sort of an arbitrage opportunity with Bitcoin land as well. Not only that, but Bitcoin isn't really seen as a necessity right now. People probably look at Bitcoin as either really, really fringe technology or a scam. You have to realize that we are a very special group here that are watching this shit. We first believe that we first believe in magic internet money, and then having some validity over time, and then we also neglect, and then probably a lot of us also fight amongst each other about which fucking pet rock is the best one. But most of the world does not see it that way. Most of the world is still kind of looking at this as weird, and for good reason. I mean, it is fucking weird, man. I'm fucking weird too, and that's probably why I enjoy this shit. But at the end of the day, for now, they are correlated. Could that change in the future? Maybe yes. But the thing is that just to kind of offer up another counterpoint, we could look at gold. Gold is typically looked at as the counter to the traditional markets. Well. Let's see. How did gold operate in? Let's do it this way. How did gold operate in? in 2008, that last economic crash. Well, it went down just like everything else, man. This was a piece of garbage. In fact, the line chart makes it look better than it really was. This was 27.25% down. If we put this on dildos, you'll see that it's actually significantly more than that. If we go from high to low, it's going to be more like 35 or something. If I had to, it's about 34.5. So again, in a world economic collapse, it's not good for anyone. So people kind of rooting for that, you're more of an asshole than anything, kind of looking for personal gain off the backs of others, where realistically it's not going to help you. I mean, first, like the assumption is wrong, then the way that you're playing out is also wrong, and just it gives people a bad taste. I think realistically the way forwards for cryptocurrencies is going to be integration with the traditional market landscape, and we're gonna get rid of some of the bad things from traditional land, keep some of the good hopefully, and then same thing with Bitcoin, get rid of some of the bad things, keep some of the good, and then cool, longer term, great. Anyways, speaking of gold, I guess there's not really too much to update from that's new from yesterday, but I do think that it pops back up to like 1575. I actually am not as bearish as I should be on it. I actually think that it pops back up and gives another try to the upside. Too many people are bearish on that right now. Bitcoin is looking constructive in the lower term time frames. I do think that it pops back up here actually to 8,200, but I don't have an opinion on if it actually closes above there on a time frame that matters. Okay, let's go look at the Bitcoin VWAP ratio. This is I've been presenting this as more on the bear side for the last half year now. And yes, we have gotten the same signature that has led on to all 70% plus corrections for Bitcoin land in the eternity of eternity. Anytime we've seen the purple moving average on the VWAP get below the pink moving average on the VWAP, when they're both below kind of where my cursor currently is right now, if you were to just imagine a regression between there, then those are all of the 70% corrections from prior high to next low. And, this guy right here from 20 to 6, this guy right here from 10 to 3, this guy right here from this bull trap to next low, this guy right here from this high to this low right here, same thing right here, we get the same signature, same thing right here, we actually get a lot more. Now I won't go through those exact examples because I've done it a million times, so you're welcome to watch the long-term analysis videos that I upload every week. I go through them and all the other ones, but you can just take my word from it. Every time that we've seen that signature, we get 70% correction to the downside or more from the last prior high. On this current one, though, we do not have a 70% correction. In fact, we have thus far a pretty impressive correction, but is it there? Well, it's 54%, right? So fair enough. It's different. So it's not really in line. And if we were to if we really were to shave off 70% from this area, that would put us all the way, to put in perspective, it doesn't sound like that big of a difference, but it put us all the way down into the mid to low 4,000s. So now I want to start to really pull a few things together. So I actually do believe that going back down to even 5,500 or even 4,500 is still very possible, but that's only my disposition if and only if we take out this prior low on a daily total closing basis at 6,600. If that happens, yes, extremely likely we go to 5,500 and probably even lower than that to 4,500 over time. However, until that happens, there is some really good hopium shit for the bulls here. Looking at the hash ribbons, and I want to go a little bit more deep dive into this as well today, and then we'll start to wrap up this video. But the hash ribbons, which have accurately, how should I present this? The hash ribbons, anytime that we've gotten a buy signal on these babies, we have had, the low has already been put in before that price point. So we can go back and kind of go over this for a second here. Okay, so we get the buy signal right here. It's not a good timer of momentum. Bitcoin literally takes another few months before it blasts off to the upside, and even goes lower after that too. But the low from prior was the low. We do not close below there on a daily total closing basis. If we go back a little bit further than that to this, oh man, we need another, hold on. Let's go back on over here. Yeah, there. Let's get stamp. If we go back to the price signal before that, we get this guy right here, right? The low had already been put in over here. This one actually was a pretty good timer. So to be fair, it was a good one. Then this guy right here, we get a buy signal right here. The low had already been put in. Low's already put in. We do not close below that low, but we do get damn close. We do get damn close. So it's a terrible timer, but good for cycle. Same thing right here, even worse, obviously, because it was even an earlier signal. And then same thing right here as well. The low was in beforehand. The low is in. We do not close lower ever, but or since then. But the momentum from that price point, not the best, not the best signal for that. This one was a pretty damn good timer right here. Low already in and massive momentum to the upside. This one right here, also pretty good. This one right here, a little bit less good, but not bad. And then this guy right here, we do return to that price point. However, we do not close below. So, with that in mind, it would suggest that since we've gotten this buy signal right here, this low on a daily total closing basis at 6,600 will not be violated. Now, of course, if you've been a trader for Jesus Christ for more than a few days, you probably already learned that anything can happen. But what this tells us is that it would be a change in behavior on the macro if we were to close below this area on a daily closing basis, 6,600, and that's when I get super bearish once again. I mean, shit, even closing below like 7,100 probably gets me bearish enough. In fact, 7,100 is good enough for me, man. I'll be massively short below there. But this would suggest that we can return back down to the lower 7,000s, but as long as we don't close below, especially the 6,600 level, and I would even take that one step further and say 7,000 or 7,100, the low is probably in. But we can spend some time going sideways here. It's not timing anything, and that's not to say that we can't come lower, in the interim. But it would suggest that the low is in. So that is the best hopium that I can find for right now. We also do see that the Bitcoin difficulty ribbon is contracting on itself as we come into the halving date, and we do typically see that once the ribbons start contracting on each other, not when they're like fully contracted, but when they start contracting, that's when your downtrend starts. And once they're fully contracted, that's when we're actually getting ready for the next major push up. And we're kind of doing the same thing here. So it would suggest that the pressure is coming off to the downside for Bitcoin. So again, another semi-okay thing, I suppose. Anyways, let's go back down to the low. Let's go back and check out how the other top shitcoins are doing. I'm curious if Mr. Buteral is looking any better than Bitcoin. Mr. Buteral looks about the same as Bitcoin, a little bit worse from a moving average perspective, but same sort of thing here, kind of stair-stepping its way up. We do have a higher low in place, not necessarily a higher high just yet, but it's looking constructive, potentially making an ascending triangle here. Litecoin looks very good. Litecoin looks very good. It makes me think that we do take another step up. It has taken out its long-term downtrend a couple days ago, actually, well ahead of Bitcoin. And not only did we close above our last prior high right here from 48.80, do we have a new high on a weekly? Probably not. Yeah, not really, but I do think that we get extension over here. To Tesla 21 at 57. So Litecoin breaking this area, I do think is significant. And with Litecoin doing this, I actually do think that Litecoin's going to pop back around here. And Litecoin would say that Bitcoin's going to follow. We have seen Litecoin lead to the upside in the past, and Litecoin looking healthy here. And this is a low on Litecoin. This is a pretty damn good low on Litecoin, at least for the short and medium term. I will look for extension actually all the way up here, probably towards like 56 to 58 bucks, and then look for another pullback. But that would suggest that with Bitcoin so close to this next major inflection point, probably actually does take it out to the upside. So Litecoin, perhaps the harbinger of peace and prosperity for Bitcoin bulls out there. Let's see. Do we want to look at Monero? Going a little bit deeper into the shitcoin drawer here, but this one's not so bad. Kind of flagging out. Nice little symmetrical triangle coming off this region. A little bit more of a sloppy chart, so I don't really care all that much about it. Ripple Me Nipples, probably going to follow the rest of the market. Less strong than the other ones. EOS, looking good. Looks like it wants to make a line towards 330. NEO, looking good. Actually, NEO looking pretty good here. Looks poised for a move toward like 11.5 to 12 bucks. Tron Cash looking good here for potentially a move above the last prior high to this area right here. Bcash actually looks pretty good as well, but getting rejected by the 200 simple. So that's very consistent with what we saw in the 2018 example. So this one's still making, as it stands, lower highs on a weekly, but this is going to close on a pretty good point, to be fair. And then Zcash, well, actually even Zcash looks like it's okay. It looks like extension to 39.5, 40 bucks. So yeah, actually a lot of the coins are kind of looking poised here for extension to the upside. And I would say that speaks to the general health of the greater crypto market right here. So I actually do think that Bitcoin is going to not just test the top side here, but probably sometime this week break to the upside, and we go test like 8,600-ish region, and that's going to be the next big area, so to speak. So for right now, I'm happy to hold this long. And I'll probably be doing the same thing a little bit later today. I'll probably be back on Twitch later today, but let me actually wrap up this chat first. Oh man, it's already 10:17. Brick Squad. Anyways, as it stands right now, we can put back on these trend lines right here. Let's go back to BitMexico. And realistically, from the low time frames, this is what I'm looking at right here. break below 80.20 on like a 2-hour total close, I'd look for extension all the way to 78.50ish region down around here and look for another bounce here. Any sort of break below 7,800 is disastrous for Bitcoin daily, and we'll probably see well below 7,500 over time. By the same token, short term, which I think is a little bit more likely, we're probably going to test 8,200 once again. If we do see a 2-hour, 4-hour total closing above 82.20, 82.30, again, being a little bit conservative here, I would look for extension all the way up here towards 84 to 85.50ish region, and potential to actually close above later today on a daily or 2-day or 3-day or weekly, which are all closing later tonight. But above here is where things get a lot more interesting. That would again be about 85.50 to 8600. Again, want to be a little more conservative with my estimates there, and we could probably look for extension, much higher to the upper 8,000s, like 88, 8900 after that. But it's going to be one thing before the next. And right now, while Bitcoin is looking good in the lower term time frames, I do think it's a little bit lofty for me to call a breakage over this area right here. I think that we probably retest it. But this is looking good right here, so fair enough, man. Not bad Bitcoin, not bad at all. And if I had to guess, I'd say that we do test this area. We probably actually do take it out and test somewhere in this region, and then we'll come back to it tomorrow. I don't think that we're going to break out of that range today, but probably maybe sometime this early this week. So yeah, that's going to do it for right now. I want to wish everyone well. I want to wish everyone the best of the best and the happiest of the happiest. I want to wish you a nice and peaceful and profitable Sunday is what I really want to wish you, man. That's what you want in life. Peace is the answer. Anyways, I'm going to be signing off now. I am hungry as fuck, so take care, and until next time.